Hi, I'm Shawna Sipherd, and I wanted to take a couple of minutes to thank you for tuning in and watching my videos. The main reason I posted my false police report video was specifically in preparation for lawsuits as well as for my family law. However, I've received over 7,000 hits, and every hour it just climbs crazily. So I thought maybe people are interested and might want to know what's going on. So I'm going to make it quick and give you a little back end of what led up to Mr. Sipherd's false police report and us turning him in for that false police report. So anyways, my son has epilepsy, and we relocated our family back from the Boise, Idaho area specifically to medicate our son under California Compassionate Care Act Prop 215 due to the fact he had been on 4 different pharmaceutical synthetic drugs to control his seizures, but it never controlled his seizures, and it forced him to have all of the side effects. So with that being said, we signed him up for a cannabis study under the state of Idaho, but we decided to move back prior to his name coming up. So anyways, we moved back. We found a doctor, Dr. Bannister, in Nevada City. He's absolutely amazing. He's a regular medical doctor specializing in anesthesiology, specializing in pediatric cannabis. He looked at my son's medical records and examined him and determined that he is most definitely a candidate for cannabis. He set us up with multiple people in the area, as well as gave us literature and set us up with a lab to have our son's medicine tested. We purchased some over-the-counter CBDs prior to getting the actual recommendation, and we did notice a little bit of difference, but it wasn't enough, so we added the whole plant cannabis, CBD, and we definitely noticed a difference once we added the whole plant cannabis, but it still wasn't enough, so we added the THC. Just like anything, it's a process, whether it's pharmaceutical synthetics or a holistic regimen, it's still a process to get it figured out, and we were going through the process. So for 5 months, we medicated our son, working together, co-parenting. Mr. Sipherd had been an out-of-town parent most of our marriage, and only had been having the kids for the last handful of months prior to this. So our son had a 20-minute seizure on May 28th, and not 20-minute, 22nd seizure, and Mr. Sipherd reported that it was a 20-minute seizure. He reported to the ER, to CPS, to the Placer County Sheriff, to our son's medical professionals, which that then changed all of his future medical protocol if he's had a 20-minute seizure. However, he didn't have a 20-minute seizure, and Mr. Sipherd recorded the 20-minute seizure. I've seen that recording. My 16-year-old daughter's seen that recording, and I know for a fact other people have seen that recording. However, Mr. Sipherd has rode for a whole year that his son had a 20-minute seizure, and that I and Mr. Pellow have been poisoning his son with cannabis for 5 months. However, he went to the doctor with us. He participated, and only him and I are the only two that ever gave our son cannabis. So when our son had this 20-second seizure and was sent to the ER, Mr. Sipherd started his lies. That prompted a CPS investigation. CPS showed up. Mr. Sipherd continued to lie to CPS. He told CPS that basically I am the one that got the dosing regimen. I figured out what kind of medicine, and he was blindly being led by his ex-wife. So then 2 days later, he marched over to Placer County Sheriff and told them that he had relocated his family back from Idaho, that we went to the doctor. Dr. Bannister recommended cannabis, recommended a certain strains due to my son's age and epilepsy. He told the sheriff how he doesn't like my new boyfriend all of a sudden, and then on the 3rd page goes on to say how myself and my boyfriend have been poisoning his son with cannabis for the last 5 months. However, he knew we weren't poisoning him. We were completely following the doctor's orders, and it was helping. Our son was seizure free for 17 plus days, several times for months. And our son had never been seizure free ever in his whole entire life for more than 3 days on pharmaceutical drugs, having to suffer all the horrific side effects that those awful poisons caused. So our son was flourishing and being able to color and play with Play-Doh and play with cars and play in the sandbox and listen to me read a book to him or even watch a program for 20 minutes. He was having a normal life for the first time in his life. So then when Mr. Sipherd marched over to Placer County and lied, that prompted an investigation for Placer County. So then Timothy Glocko, Detective Glocko, was assigned to the case. Detective Glocko drove by the Pellow residence and saw the 1,500 square foot greenhouse. It was 100% legitimate Prop 215 greenhouse with 6 legitimate recommendations: cancer patients, glaucoma, benign tremor, seizures, legitimate patients. We had the exact amount except for one less. We could have had one more plant. We were 100% legal, and Detective Glocko said that he could see more than 7 plants over the fence. So he requested a warrant to be issued under Prop 64, which was the recreational prop, not the Prop 215 medicinal, under the recreational, which means we were only allowed 6 plants. He knew that that would be issued. So he lied. And I have multiple pictures to prove prior, during, and after the raid, he lied. Then, June 22nd, 2017, Mr. Glocko, on the raid, running it, lied again. He ran across my son's coconut oil. He claimed that of the 20 pounds, a little over a pound of it was honey hash butane oil, also known as dabs. Dabs are honey consistent. They're clear and golden. They're sticky. They string like honey. My son's coconut oil is lighter green than my shirt, creamy, silky, melts to the touch, and will turn liquid in heat, like oil. However, Mr. Glocko says that a pound of the 20 pounds was honey hash butane oil, and arrested Mr. Pellow for manufacturing honey hash butane oil, providing cannabis to a minor, which happened to have a legitimate recommendation, and Mr. Pellow only provided a space for his medicine to be grown. He never administered the medicine, and they're trying to charge him with cultivation. Well, it was legal under Prop 215, as each patient had their exact amount of plants legal under Prop 215. But yet, Detective Glocko, holding all of our recommendations that were all valid, cut down all of our medicine, stole our medicine, and then stole my son's coconut oil, arrested Mr. Pellow, held me as suspect number 2, trying to charge me with child endangerment and all kinds of things. The family judge has taken my children away because I'm such a horrible mother. I was poisoning my son with cannabis. Excuse me. Mr. Sipherd accused me of doing drugs. I have a plethora of drug tests because I was sick when I was pregnant. He accused me of doing illegal drugs and abusing my Adderall during my pregnancy with my son, causing him to have epilepsy and special needs. However, I have blood work that shows I didn't have anything in my system, not even cannabis, which I had a prescription for. And I didn't have Adderall for 2 years after my son was born. And yet, I still don't have my children. So anyways, I have a lot more to say. Mr. Sipherd's been abusive. Our county hasn't done their job. And I have lots of videos to post. So subscribe, share my links, and stay tuned because it's about to get very interesting. Thank you. Talk to you soon.